She said, "You're a placeholder until I find the real thing." At a restaurant, while I was paying. I said, "Then hold this." Left the bill. Let her find a real thing to pay for her pasta. Sup Reddit. My girlfriend called me a placeholder while I was literally holding the check at dinner. Not even kidding. So I handed her the bill and walked out. What followed was absolute chaos. Grab your popcorn because this one's wild. I'm Ethan, 32 male. Own a custom furniture business here in Nashville. Started the company 6 years ago after spending my 20s working for other people and learning the craft. Built it from nothing. Just me in a rented warehouse space with some basic tools and a dream. Now I've got 4 employees and a client waitlist 3 months deep. Started as an apprentice at 15, working weekends for an old craftsman named Walter. He taught me that every piece of wood has a story. Spent 5 years under his guidance before he retired and sold his equipment to me cheap. Took out a small business loan, rented warehouse space, and started taking any job that came my way. First year, I barely cleared $30,000. Lived in a studio apartment, ate cheap, put every dollar back into the business. By year 3, I'd hired my first employee, Derek, now my lead craftsman. Year 5 brought a major commercial contract that cleared 6 figures. Last year, I finally felt like I'd made it. The business does high-end custom pieces, dining tables, entertainment centers, built-in shelving, the kind of stuff people save up for and treasure forever. My signature is live edge walnut slabs that I source myself from lumber yards across Tennessee. The work's demanding but profitable. Last year, I cleared 6 figures after expenses. I'm not flashy with money though. Even with success, I kept my lifestyle modest. The truck was the one splurge. Otherwise, I lived in a 3-bedroom house I'd bought 2 years ago in a quiet neighborhood. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. Fully paid off after I sold a commercial project and dumped the profit into the mortgage. No debt felt good. Really good. My dad worked in a factory for 40 years and retired with barely anything because he spent every paycheck on stuff that didn't matter. Newest TV, latest gadgets, vehicles he couldn't afford. Mom left him when I was 12 because she was tired of the financial stress. Watching my dad struggle alone in his 60s, working part-time at Home Depot because his retirement fund was non-existent, taught me everything I needed to know about money. Build something, own something, be something, he'd tell me during our weekend fishing trips. Don't just earn money, make it work for you. That lesson stuck hard. Every dollar I made went into 3 buckets: business reinvestment, savings, and necessities. No subscriptions I didn't use, no clothes I didn't need, no keeping up with anyone's lifestyle but my own. Kevin, my best friend since high school, used to joke that I was the only 32-year-old he knew who actually had his life together. Most guys our age are still figuring out how to do laundry, he'd say. Meanwhile, you're out here running a business and owning property like a functional adult. Kevin worked in commercial real estate and had done well for himself, but even he admitted I had the discipline thing down. Met my girlfriend Amanda, 29 female, about 2 years ago at Kevin's backyard barbecue. She worked as an event coordinator for weddings and corporate functions. Pretty girl, really pretty. Had this way of making you feel like the most interesting person in the room when she talked to you. Our first conversation lasted 2 hours. Got her number that night. First few dates clicked. Good conversation, genuine interest. Seemed like the real deal. About 4 months in, she started staying over most nights. About 8 months in, her lease was ending, and I suggested she move in. That's when I probably should have paid closer attention to the small changes. Amanda moved into my place in month 9 of our relationship. She contributed to groceries and utilities, but not rent, which seemed fair since I owned the house outright. No mortgage meant my housing costs were just property tax and maintenance. Having her chip in on food and electric made sense without making it transactional. The first few months were solid. She had her routine, I had mine. She'd leave for work around 8, I'd head to the shop around 7. We'd meet up for dinner, watch shows, do normal couple stuff. Weekends we'd explore Nashville, new restaurants, live music, farmers markets. It felt comfortable and easy. Then the comments started, small at first. Kevin and Becca went to that new rooftop bar downtown. It looked amazing in her Instagram story. Not directly saying we should go, just mentioning it with this tone that implied we were missing out. Or, my coworker's boyfriend surprised her with tickets to Cancun. She showed me the photos. Oh, the resort looked incredible. Again, not asking me to book a trip, just planting seeds. The comments about my friends came next. Does Kevin ever talk about anything besides fantasy football? It's kind of exhausting. Or, I don't know how Becca deals with all those video game tournaments. Seems immature for guys in their 30s. She started making suggestions about my wardrobe. You'd look really good in button-downs instead of t-shirts. More professional. Or, maybe we should go shopping. Update your style a bit. First impressions matter. I work with wood all day. I wear jeans and work shirts that can get dirty. When I'm not working, I wear comfortable clothes because that's what I prefer. But Amanda kept pushing this idea that I needed to look more put together for her social events. Her work functions became a regular thing. Client appreciation dinners, vendor networking events, wedding industry mixers. She'd want me there as her date, which was fine initially, but at these events she'd introduce me as my boyfriend who owns a business, without ever mentioning what kind of business. When people asked, she'd say custom furniture in this tone that made it sound less impressive than it was. I noticed she'd position us near the wealthiest looking people at these events. She'd steer conversations toward money, ask questions about people's homes and cars, angle for invitations to exclusive venues. It felt transactional, like she was networking me the way you'd network a business asset. Kevin called it out during a Sunday football session at my place. Amanda had gone to brunch with her girlfriends, leaving us to watch the Titans game in peace. Dude, real talk, Kevin said during halftime. Amanda's been different lately. Like, more focused on appearances than on actual you. What do you mean? Last week at Becca's birthday dinner, Amanda spent 20 minutes talking about some client's engagement ring. How many carats? What setting? How much it probably cost? Then she looks at Becca's ring and goes, "That's nice too," in a more understated way. It was kind of a dig. I hadn't been there, had to work late on a rush project. Maybe she was just making conversation. Kevin gave me that look. Becca was pissed. Said Amanda's been making little comments for months about everyone's lifestyle compared to hers. About how we're not ambitious enough or living up to our potential. It's getting weird, man. I brushed it off at the time, but it stuck with me. Started paying more attention to how Amanda talked about other people. She had this habit of comparing couples who had nicer cars, bigger houses, more expensive vacations. Everything was a competition I hadn't signed up for. Then I noticed her phone habits changing. She'd always been on social media, but it intensified. Hours scrolling Instagram, saving posts about engagement rings and wedding venues and luxury destinations. She'd show me accounts of lifestyle influencers and talk about how they had everything figured out. Look at this couple, she'd say, showing me some account. They travel constantly and stay in amazing places. That's what life should look like. They probably have rich parents or massive debt, I'd respond. Or they're just ambitious enough to make it happen. The implication being I wasn't ambitious enough. Never mind that I'd built a successful business from scratch and owned my home at 32. Apparently, that was just baseline achievement, not something to be proud of. But the biggest red flag was her phone behavior around texts. She'd started taking calls in other rooms, stepping outside for conversations, keeping her screen angled away from me. When I'd ask who was texting, I'd get vague answers. Just work stuff. One of my brides freaking out. Group chat being dramatic. Looking back, the signs were everywhere. I just didn't want to see them, because that meant admitting I'd misjudged the whole relationship. The breaking point came 3 weeks before that dinner at Giovanni's. We'd had plans for a quiet Saturday night, order takeout, watch a movie, just relax. I'd been working 60-hour weeks on a big project and was exhausted. Amanda came home from running errands and immediately started getting ready to go out. Full makeup, hairstyled, wearing a dress I'd never seen before. "Where are you going?" I asked from the couch where I was setting up the movie. "Out with the girls. Didn't I tell you?" "No. We had plans. These plans were made last week. You must have forgotten." I hadn't forgotten because we'd talked about it that morning. But pointing that out would start a fight. So I just canceled the takeout order and watched her leave. She came home at 2 a.m., slightly unsteady, smelling like an expensive fragrance I didn't recognize. Went straight to the bathroom without saying anything. When she finally came to bed, she was on her phone texting someone and smiling. That's when I knew something was wrong. That's when I should have said something. But I was tired, and it was late. And confrontation at 2 in the morning never ends well. So I rolled over and went to sleep, telling myself I'd address it when we were both clear-headed. I never did. Just kept working, kept ignoring the red flags, kept telling myself things would get better. They didn't. That concrete proof came the night of her birthday dinner at Giovanni's. I'd made reservations 3 weeks in advance. Giovanni's was this upscale Italian place downtown that Amanda had been dropping hints about for months. Every time we'd drive past it, she'd mention how her coworkers raved about it, how the ambiance was perfect for special occasions, how she'd love to experience it someday with someone who appreciated fine dining. The place was expensive. Entrees started at $40 and went up from there. Wine list looked like a car payment. But it was her birthday, and I wanted to do something special. Figured a nice dinner at the restaurant she'd been hinting about would make her happy. The reservation was for 7 p.m. on a Saturday. I got there 5 minutes early, wearing the one button-down shirt Amanda had convinced me to buy. The hostess led me to our table, one of the good ones, near the window with a view of the city lights. The restaurant had that upscale vibe, white tablecloths, dim lighting, classical music playing just loud enough to create atmosphere without overwhelming conversation. Amanda arrived 10 minutes late, which wasn't unusual. She wore this black dress I'd never seen before. Definitely new, probably expensive based on how it fit. Her hair was styled perfectly, makeup flawless. She looked like she was ready for a photo shoot, not dinner with her boyfriend. "Sorry I'm late," she said, not sounding particularly sorry. Traffic was insane. She lived 15 minutes away. There was no traffic on a Saturday evening in our neighborhood, but I didn't push it. We ordered drinks. She got some fancy cocktail that was $18. I stuck with water because someone had to drive home. The waiter brought bread and olive oil while we looked at menus. Amanda immediately started taking photos of everything. The table setting, the menu, the ambiance shots of the restaurant. Standard Instagram behavior, nothing unusual there. The dinner conversation started normal enough. She told me about some wedding she'd just coordinated for a doctor and his fiancé. The budget was apparently massive, and she went into detail about every expensive decision they'd made. "The flowers alone were $60,000, she said, twirling bread in olive oil. $60,000 for decorations that lasted one day. Can you imagine? Sounds wasteful. It's not wasteful when you can afford it. It's about making a statement, showing people your status. The wedding is a reflection of who you are." I just nodded and kept eating. Arguing about the morality of $60,000 flowers wasn't how I wanted to spend her birthday dinner. Our entrees arrived. I'd ordered chicken marsala. She got some elaborate seafood pasta situation that cost $48. Everything looked and tasted good. The food quality was there, justifying the prices. But Amanda was distracted. Her phone kept buzzing. She'd glance at it, smile slightly, then flip it face down on the table. The first time, I didn't think much of it. Second time, raised an eyebrow. By the third time, I was paying attention. "Everything okay?" I asked halfway through the meal. "Yeah, fine. Just work stuff," she said, not making eye contact. But I'd caught a glimpse of the notification before she flipped the phone. The name was Jordan. Not a bride, not a vendor, not work. A guy's name I'd never heard her mention once in 2 years. The energy at the table shifted after that. Amanda kept checking her phone every few minutes. Her responses to my attempts at conversation got shorter, more distracted. She'd smile and nod but clearly wasn't present. It was like having dinner with someone who was mentally already somewhere else. When our waiter came by to check on us, Amanda barely acknowledged him, just waved him off without looking up from her phone. The guy stood there awkwardly for a second before retreating. I apologized for her rudeness. He was just doing his job, but felt embarrassed by the whole interaction. We finished our entrees in near silence. Amanda was fully engaged with whoever was texting her, typing out responses with more attention than she'd given me all night. I watched her facial expressions shift as she read messages, smiling, biting her lip, this little laugh under her breath. Body language I hadn't seen directed at me in months. The waiter returned with dessert menus. Amanda ordered without even reading it, just pointed at the most expensive item, some chocolate tower construction that was $28. I declined dessert, wasn't hungry anymore, and watching her ignore me while racking up the bill killed whatever appetite I had left. Her phone buzzed again. This time she picked it up immediately and started typing a full response right there at the table. Didn't excuse herself, didn't apologize for the rudeness, just actively texted someone else during her birthday dinner that I was paying for. "Who's Jordan?" I asked, keeping my voice level. She looked up, eyes slightly wide like she'd been caught. "What? Jordan, the person who's been texting you all night. Who is that?" "Oh, he's just a friend from work, from the industry. He's helping me coordinate a vendor situation for next month." The lie was so smooth it was almost impressive, but I'd been in business long enough to know when someone was selling me something that didn't add up. Vendor coordination doesn't make you smile and bite your lip while texting at your birthday dinner. "Right," I said, letting it drop. No point starting a fight in a crowded restaurant. Amanda went back to her phone. I sat there reviewing the evening. Her late arrival, the new dress, the distracted behavior, the constant texting. The pattern was clear. I just didn't want to fully acknowledge what I was seeing. The waiter brought her dessert. She took a few photos of it for Instagram before taking a single bite. Then she was back on her phone, completely absorbed. I watched her type out a long message, delete half of it, retype it, the kind of careful word choice you make when you're flirting, not coordinating vendors. When the check arrived, I pulled out my credit card without looking at the total. Figured it would be around 200 with tip. The waiter left the check presenter on the table while he processed the payment. I picked it up to review the itemized bill. $206 total. Not terrible for a special occasion, but definitely a chunk of money. That's when Amanda's phone buzzed again. She picked it up immediately, started reading, and actually smiled. This genuine, warm smile I hadn't seen directed at me in months. Then she started typing back, completely forgetting I existed. I sat there holding the check presenter, watching my girlfriend of 2 years actively carry on what was clearly a flirtatious conversation with another man, while I was in the middle of paying for her expensive birthday dinner. Something inside me shifted, that cold clarity people talk about after seeing something they can't unsee. All the little comments about other couples, all the suggestions I needed to be better, different, more. All the comparisons to wealthier guys, more exciting guys, guys who took their girlfriends to Paris and surprised them with cars. I wasn't enough. I'd never been enough. I was just... Amanda looked up from her phone. Maybe she sensed the energy change. Maybe she just remembered I was there. But she set down her phone and looked at me with this weird expression, like she was about to say something she'd been working up the courage to say for a while. Ethan, can I be honest with you about something? And there it was. The question that never leads anywhere good. Nothing positive has ever followed. Can I be honest with you? Sure, I said slowly, still holding the check. She took a breath like she was preparing for a difficult conversation. I've been thinking a lot about us lately, about our future and where this relationship is going. Okay, you're a really great guy. You're stable, reliable. You have your business. On paper, you're exactly what I should want in a partner. There was the word. Should. Not want, but should. The difference between those two words was everything. But, I prompted, knowing it was coming. She looked down at her hands, then back up at me. But I don't know if you're really the one, you know? Like, you're safe. You're the kind of guy who pays bills on time and remembers birthdays and does all the responsible things. You're comfortable. She said comfortable like it was a disease. Like being reliable was somehow a character flaw instead of a strength. And comfortable is bad because I kept my voice level, waiting for her to finish hanging herself. It's not bad, it's just... I guess what I'm trying to say is... She paused, searching for the right words. You're kind of a placeholder until I figure out what I actually want. Until I find the real thing. The restaurant noise faded. The classical music, the other diners, the clink of silverware, it all went to background static. I heard those words so clearly, they might as well have been written in the air between us. Placeholder. Real thing. She said it so casually, like she was commenting on the weather. Like she hadn't just reduced 2 years of our relationship to a temporary holding pattern. Like I was some kind of bookmark in her life story, until she found the chapter worth actually reading. And she said it while I was sitting there holding the bill for her $200 birthday dinner. The table went quiet. I could hear the other diners around us, the soft music playing overhead, the clink of silverware on plates. Everything felt sharp and clear, like someone had just cranked the resolution on my entire life. Amanda was watching me, probably expecting some kind of emotional response. Hurt, anger, maybe even an attempt to prove I was more than a placeholder. Instead, I felt this cold clarity wash over me. I picked up the check presenter with my credit card still inside and slid it across the table to her. Then hold this, I said calmly. Her eyes widened. What? You just told me I'm a placeholder. So placehold this bill while you find someone real to pay for your pasta. I stood up, grabbed my jacket from the back of the chair, and walked out of Giovanni's without looking back. Behind me, I heard Amanda calling my name, but I was already through the door. The valet looked confused when I handed him my ticket, probably wondering why the guy who just arrived was leaving alone. I gave him a 20 and waited for my truck. My phone started blowing up before I even left the parking lot. Text after text from Amanda. Ethan, what the hell? You can't just leave me here. How am I supposed to pay this? This isn't funny, come back. I didn't mean it like that. I silenced my phone and drove home. The whole ride back, I kept replaying her words in my head. Placeholder. Safe. Comfortable. Until she found the real thing. 2 years of my life. 2 years of building something with someone. 2 years of her living in my house. Benefiting from my stability. Enjoying the life I'd built. And I was just a placeholder. The anger didn't hit until I got home. I walked into my house. The house I'd bought with money I'd earned, that she'd been living in rent-free, and looked around at all her stuff. Her shoes by the door. Her jacket on the couch. Her expensive face creams lining the bathroom counter. Evidence of someone who'd made herself comfortable in my space while simultaneously looking for an exit. Kevin called while I was standing in the living room, trying to decide my next move. Where are you? He asked. Your location dropped off, find my friends. I'd forgotten we shared locations. Home, just left dinner. Already? I thought you had reservations at that fancy place. Had is the key word. Amanda decided to tell me I'm a placeholder boyfriend while I was paying for her birthday dinner. Silence. Then, she said, "What now?" I repeated the whole conversation. Kevin let out a low whistle. Dude, what did you do? Left her with the bill and came home. Savage. I'm coming over. Don't make any major decisions until I get there. 15 minutes later, Kevin showed up with snacks and the kind of moral support only a best friend can provide. We sat on my back porch looking at the woodworking shop I'd built in the yard, and he listened while I processed out loud. She's been different lately, I said. More focused on appearances, less focused on us. Always on her phone, making these little comments about what I'm not doing. Classic setup for monkey branching, Kevin said. She's got someone else lined up and was keeping you around until she was sure. Jordan. Who? Some guy who keeps texting her. Saw his name on her phone at dinner. Kevin pulled out his own phone. What's Amanda's Instagram? I told him. He scrolled for a minute, then turned the screen to show me. There was Amanda's latest story, posted about 20 minutes ago. A photo of the Giovanni's restaurant exterior with the caption, "When your night takes an unexpected turn." The comments were already rolling in from her girlfriends. Girl, what happened? Are you okay? Men are trash. Kevin kept scrolling. Check this out from 3 days ago. It was a gym selfie. Amanda in workout clothes, looking sweaty and glowing. But in the background, slightly out of focus, was a guy. Tall, fit, definitely not me. The caption read, "New workout partner pushing me to my limits." That's probably Jordan, Kevin said. We kept digging. Found more breadcrumbs. Comments from this Jordan guy on her posts going back 6 weeks. Looking great. That dress is fire. Can't wait for next time. Real subtle. Amanda's Instagram was basically a highlight reel of the life she wanted. Fancy restaurants, expensive clothes, snapshots from weddings she coordinated where she stood next to wealthy clients. Nowhere in any of it was evidence of me except for 2 photos from months ago that you had to scroll to find. I'd been edited out of her narrative, a placeholder who didn't fit the aesthetic. My phone was still blowing up. 53 messages now. Amanda had progressed from confusion to anger to desperation. Please, Ethan. I'm stuck here, they won't let me leave. The manager is threatening to call the cops. This is humiliating. Why are you doing this to me? Kevin read over my shoulder and started laughing. She really thought you'd come crawling back to rescue her. Not my problem anymore. So what's the play? She's living in your house, has a key, probably has stuff she can sell or hold hostage. He was right. I needed to act fast before Amanda came home and made this harder than it needed to be. I was done being the placeholder. Time to reclaim my space in my life. First move, change the locks. I called a 24-hour locksmith service and paid extra for immediate response. Guy showed up within the hour. New deadbolt, new knob lock, all new keys. Cost me $300 but worth every penny. While the locksmith worked, Kevin and I started boxing up Amanda's belongings. Not throwing them out. I'm not a monster. Just packing them up for removal. Her clothes from the closet. Her products from the bathroom. Her decorative nonsense she'd scattered around my house, trying to make it homey. We found some interesting things during the process. A receipt from a hotel downtown dated 2 weeks ago. Amanda had told me she was at a work event that night. Credit card statements showing charges at expensive restaurants I'd never been to. A hidden jewelry box with a necklace I definitely didn't buy her. Expensive looking. With an engraving on the back. To Amanda. Worth the wait. J. Jordan. Had to be. Dude, Kevin held up the necklace. She's been full on dating this guy. The betrayal should have hurt more than it did. Instead, I just felt validated. I wasn't overreacting. Amanda had been shopping for my replacement while enjoying the benefits of my stability. The placeholder comment wasn't a slip. It was the truth coming out after too much wine at dinner. We packed everything into boxes and stacked them neatly in the garage. Took about 3 hours total. By the time we finished, my house looked like it had before Amanda moved in. Clean, masculine, mine. The locksmith finished up around 11 p.m. He handed me the new keys and gave me a knowing look. Been there, brother. Fresh start feels good. Kevin left around midnight after making me promise not to respond to any of Amanda's messages. Let her stew, he said. Let her figure out her own mess. You don't owe her anything. He was right. I turned off my phone and went to bed. The next morning brought a whole new level of chaos. I woke up to pounding on my front door. Through the peephole, I could see Amanda, still wearing last night's dress, looking like she'd had the worst night of her life. I opened the door but kept the security chain latched. Ethan, thank God. My key isn't working and I've been trying to call you all night. I know. What do you mean you know? I need to get inside. I need my stuff. I need to shower and change. Your stuff is packed up in the garage. I'll have it delivered wherever you want. Her face went from relieved to confused to angry in rapid succession. Are you serious right now? You're kicking me out over what I said? Over what you meant. There's a difference. I was just being honest about my feelings. We're supposed to communicate in relationships. Communication is great, but you communicated that I'm temporary, so I'm making that permanent. This is insane. You can't just throw me out. I can, actually. My house, my name on the deed, and you never paid rent. Legally, you're a guest who's no longer welcome. Her voice went high and panicked. But where am I supposed to go? Maybe Jordan can help. The guy you've been texting. The one who gave you that necklace. She froze. You went through my stuff? I packed your stuff. Found it in the process. Along with hotel receipts and restaurant charges from places we've never been together. Amanda's face cycled through several emotions. Guilt, anger, calculation. She settled on indignant. So what? You played detective while I was stuck at that restaurant all night? They made me wash dishes, Ethan. Dishes! Because I couldn't pay and they wouldn't let me leave. I almost laughed. The image of Amanda in her expensive dress washing dishes at Giovanni's was poetic justice. How did you eventually get out? I asked, genuinely curious. I had to call my sister. She drove down from Murfreesboro at midnight to pay the bill. It was humiliating. Yeah, well, actions have consequences. I can't believe you're being this cold. This isn't the man I know. The man you know is a placeholder. I'm the real thing. And the real thing doesn't stick around for someone shopping for an upgrade. I closed the door. She pounded on it for another 5 minutes, yelling threats and insults. Eventually, she gave up and left. Kevin texted me around 10 a.m. Dude, check Amanda's Instagram. I logged on to see she'd posted a long story. The victim narrative was strong with this one. She'd written this whole essay about being abandoned and mistreated by a man she'd sacrificed so much for. About how she'd given me the best years of her life, and I'd thrown it away over one small miscommunication. The comments section was split. Half her friends were calling me every name in the book. The other half were asking pointed questions. Wait, didn't you say last week you were talking to someone new? Didn't you post about your workout partner? Isn't this the same guy you said was boring? Social media has a way of exposing liars. Amanda's own posts from the past months contradicted her current victim story. Then Kevin sent me screenshots from a group chat that Amanda had been removed from. Apparently, her closest girlfriends had their own opinions about the situation. She literally told us she was looking for someone richer. She said Ethan was fine for now, but not endgame. Girl got caught and now wants sympathy. Even her own friends were calling out the nonsense. Amanda's sister Vanessa showed up at my shop that afternoon. I was in the middle of sanding a cherry wood table when she marched in looking like she wanted to fight. You need to take my sister back, she announced. No, hello, no pleasantries. No, I don't. She made a mistake. She's sorry. You're being vindictive. I set down my sanding block and looked at her. Your sister told me I was a placeholder boyfriend while I was paying for her dinner. Then I found evidence she's been seeing someone else. In what universe does that deserve a second chance? She's confused. She's under a lot of pressure with work. Not my problem anymore. She's got a great guy in Jordan. Let him figure it out. Vanessa's face flushed. Jordan dumped her this morning. Said he didn't want the drama. I almost felt bad. Almost. But then I remembered washing dishes at Giovanni's because she couldn't pay the bill she'd helped create. Again, not my problem. Her stuff is ready to be picked up. Just let me know where to send it. You're a real piece of work, you know that. I'm a guy who knows his worth. Your sister didn't. Now she gets to learn that lesson the hard way. Vanessa stormed out, nearly knocking over a display of cutting boards on her way. My employee Derek watched the whole thing with wide eyes. Boss, your ex seems intense. Yeah, dodge that bullet just in time. Over the next week, Amanda launched a full campaign to get back into my life. She tried everything. Sweet texts about missing me, angry messages about my cruelty, bargaining about how she'd change. Even showed up at my house twice more before I threatened to call the cops. Her mother called me. Her father called me. Her friends called me. Everyone had an opinion about how I was handling the situation wrong. According to them, I should forgive Amanda's momentary lapse in judgment, because everyone makes mistakes. But here's the thing. Calling your boyfriend a placeholder while he's literally paying your bill isn't a momentary lapse. It's the truth slipping out. And once you hear that truth, you can't unhear it. Kevin's girlfriend Becca actually took my side publicly, which caused a small war in Amanda's social circle. Becca posted on her story, "Maybe if you treat someone like a placeholder, you shouldn't be surprised when they replace you with literally nothing." That quote spread fast. Within days, it became the unofficial motto of everyone who'd ever been taken for granted in a relationship. Amanda didn't take it well. She made a burner Instagram account to harass Becca in the comments. Becca, being Becca, just screenshotted everything and posted it with the caption, "Exhibit A in why Kevin's friend made the right choice." The whole situation would have been funny if it wasn't my life. About 2 weeks after the dinner incident, I was working late at the shop when someone knocked on the office door. I looked up to see Amanda standing there looking rough. No makeup, sweatpants, hair in a messy bun. This wasn't the polished version of herself she usually presented. "How'd you get in here?" I asked. Derek had already gone home and I'd locked the front. Side door was open. It wasn't, but I let it go. "What do you want, Amanda?" "To apologize. Really apologize, not just text apologies." I leaned back in my chair and waited. "I screwed up," she said, tears starting. "I let my insecurities and stupid fantasies get in the way of something real. You were right about Jordan. He just wanted attention, not a relationship. And the placeholder thing, that was the dumbest thing I've ever said. Dumb because you meant it, or dumb because you got caught?" She flinched. "Dumb because I threw away someone who actually cared about me for some fantasy that didn't exist. Amanda, I appreciate the apology, but we're done. You didn't just insult me. You showed me how you really feel, how you've probably felt for months. I was convenient until something better came along." "That's not true." "It is, though. You were literally texting him at dinner. You've been checking out while checking in with someone else. The only reason you're here now is because Jordan didn't work out." She couldn't argue with that because we both knew it was true. So what? I just lost the best thing that ever happened to me because I was stupid for a few weeks? You lost the best thing that ever happened to you because you took it for granted, treated it like a stepping stone instead of a destination. Amanda stood there crying, probably hoping I'd crack. But I'd had 2 weeks to process everything. 2 weeks to realize how much lighter I felt without her constant judgment. 2 weeks to appreciate coming home to my own space without walking on eggshells. "Your stuff is still in the garage," I said. "Tomorrow I'm having it delivered to your sister's place. After that, I don't want any more contact. We're done, Amanda." She left without another word. I watched her walk to her car, then locked every door and went back to work. The table I'd been working on was for a young couple celebrating their 5th anniversary. The guy had called me personally, explaining how his wife had always wanted a custom piece for their dining room. He talked about her for 20 minutes, describing her favorite colors, her style preferences, how she lit up when she talked about their future together. That's what a real relationship looked like, not someone marking time until they found an upgrade. I finished that table with extra attention to detail, hand-carved their initials into the underside, where only they would know. When they picked it up 3 weeks later, the wife actually cried when she saw it. "It's perfect," she said, running her hands over the smooth surface. "Better than I imagined." Her husband smiled and put his arm around her. "Only the best for my girl." That's the kind of relationship worth having. The kind where you're the real thing, not the placeholder. Life moved on quickly after that. Business stayed busy. Kevin and Becca got engaged, which was cool to see. My house felt more like home than it had in months. I adopted a dog from the shelter, a 3-year-old lab mix named Scout, who loved hanging out in the shop while I worked. About 3 months after the restaurant incident, I ran into Amanda at the grocery store. She was with some new guy, both of them looking at steaks in the meat section. She saw me and immediately looked away. The guy noticed and asked her something. She shook her head. I just kept walking. Didn't need that energy in my life. Kevin texted me later that evening. "Heard through the grapevine Amanda's dating some insurance salesman. Apparently she tells people you were abusive and controlling." "Let her tell whatever story she needs to tell," I responded. "People who know me know the truth." And that was that. The woman who called me a placeholder was now in someone else's life, probably running the same game. The insurance guy could deal with it. I had furniture to build and a life to live. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel and help us bring you more and better stories. Thanks.